I had two consultations today with two ladies who have seen multiple doctors that, have no answers for them, and both cases would appear very complicated to an outside observer. So I want to just run through those quick with you. And the first case here is a 47-year-old female, and she called and she said, I have multiple autoimmune diseases. I've seen many doctors. No one can help me. Can you help me, or am I just too complicated? And so I said, well, let me know what your laundry list is. And so she said, I have fibromyalgia, I have osteoporosis, I have APS, which is antiphospholipid syndrome, I have protein S deficiency, MTHFR SNPs, which means mutations in a certain gene, and then chronic back pain, chronic numbness and tingling in both legs and on the face and head. She said tomorrow she's going for a brain MRI because they're going to investigate multiple sclerosis. So, that laundry list of things would probably scare most people and most doctors, because most conventional doctors are specialists, right? One, I'm a bone health guy, so I can help you with the osteoporosis, but I have no idea what an MTHFR SNP is. Or, I am a pain doctor, so I'll help you with your chronic pain, but I can't really do much for your antiphospholipid syndrome. So she's struggling because our conventional healthcare system is so specialized and so acute focused that they can't do anything for people that have chronic issues that include multiple systems and multiple specialties, or say one person who understands the whole system. So we'll return to her case. The next case was a 21-year-old female, and I actually spoke to her mom because this woman has Down syndrome, and she also has PANDAS, which is neuroautoimmunity that attacks a part of the brain called the basal ganglia, and it's associated with strep infection. She has Hashimoto's disease, which is thyroid autoimmunity, and epilepsy, which is seizures. She also, I didn't put on here, but she also is suspected to be mold sensitive because they discovered they had mold in their house and recently moved out, and that has helped her symptoms a little bit. But the same conundrum is present in this case, in that PANDAS is neuroautoimmunity, okay, against the brain. So she'll see a neurologist for that, but the neurologist won't do anything for her Hashimoto's disease, which is thyroid. So she'd need to see an endocrinologist for that. And the Down syndrome, we can't do anything about. That's genetic. And the the mold sensitivity, they're not going to do a whole lot for either. So this, speaking to the mother, I'm sure I believe you're all mothers on this call. And even if you're not, we can empathize with the mother's quality of life is going to suffer at the same level as this girl's quality of life, because she's the full-time caretaker. And she asked me, can you help? And I even told her, I walked her through how I approach it. And I said, as we're changing her physiology and her quality of life, which is therefore changing your quality of life. And she laughed, because as the daughter heals, she will heal, the whole family heals. So, why am I not scared to take on these cases and actually excited to take on these cases? Well, because if we look at them from a detective standpoint, instead of a symptom-based standpoint, we can say, well, there are some actual themes here. Autoimmune disease in the conventional model is looked at inaccurately, I think. So the conventional medical model is approaching the symptom or the bystander, right? In Hashimoto's disease, the thyroid is what's being attacked. So they give Synthroid, which is thyroid hormone replacement. They do nothing for the immune system. In PANDAS, the brain is what's under attack. So they'll give antipsychotic medications because of the symptoms of anxiety and OCD and things of that nature, but they don't do anything to rein in the immune system. Epilepsy, many cases of epilepsy are autoimmune epilepsy. My suspicion is that the PANDAS and the epilepsy in this case are connected. Antiphospholipid syndrome and protein S deficiency, these are clotting autoimmune driven. Well, the protein S not so much, but the antiphospholipid syndrome is autoimmune driven clotting disorders. So again, the clotting is what they go after, but it's the immune system driving the damage. So rather than focusing on the innocent bystander that's crying out for help in the form of symptoms, if we back up and say, well, let's tackle the perpetrator, which is the immune system, then getting that under control allows the victim to stop screaming, right? Because they're no longer being attacked. And so that's why I can move forward with these cases and feel confident in being able to help them, because I'm going after the cause instead of addressing effects and addressing symptoms. So I say bring it on, because let's go rein in the immune system and see what we can change. And just so everyone knows, and people who may be viewing this later know, where we sit in 2020 right now in August, we don't know how to cure autoimmune disease, because cure would mean deleting memory cells in the immune system and erasing antibodies, and we don't know how to do that yet. So the clinical goal is to drive the disease process to dormancy or asymptomatic, or to have as much time between flares as possible, okay? You're probably going to flare because you live in the US and there's toxins and bad food and stress everywhere. So we want as much time between flares as possible. And then when you flare, we want it to be the shortest duration, the lowest intensity possible, so you recover as quickly as possible there. And so I believe if we get to all the way to the point of care with these people, that we'll be able to establish that and to reach optimal, which for each person is different, and we get to find out together what that is for each person. So if you guys get this because you're in the family, but if you have friends or family or coworkers or just someone you meet on the street who's saying how they've seen so many people and can't be helped because they're too complicated, it's not so much that they're complicated, they just need someone to go back to math class with them and say, well, what's the lowest common denominator here? What's the fundamentals? What are the principles that we can start with and then build from there? So what questions or comments does anyone have on this?
Actually, this kind of makes me angry at the healthcare system.
Yeah.
I've had lots of friends. I have a male friend who has had epileptic seizures. One, when he was driving a car, he managed to get over to the side, but he has them rarely, but you never know when they're going to happen. And then I have a longtime female friend that has been diagnosed with MS, but a long time ago, and over the years, she's probably late 60s, maybe 70-ish, and she is now walking with a walker. And, it's stuff like this that, you find out about, and it's like, I'm feeding her all this stuff that I can, and it's a change, it's a mindset. You have to get to that point where it's like, I'm done with this. I need some other kind of information from somebody who, can take me back to square one.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I agree with you and echo the frustration, like, because to work with people, as you know, I require their medical records, and I'll read through them for years and see what's been going on. And there's been multiple times where I'm on my couch going through them, just like grunting or rolling eyes or whatever. My wife says, what's wrong? And it's like, I've got X hundred pages of medical records here, and they're doing the same darn thing, and it's been hidden in plain sight the whole time. Like, why don't they see this? So, and then there can be frustration where you have those friends and you're trying to tell them, and they're just so we're all raised that that's the way you do it, and everything else is quackery. That it's like, man, if you would just let go of that thought and open your mind a little bit, you may be able to get rid of your cane. You can get your quality of life back.
Well, I think functional medicine needs to market a little bit, like out there. I mean, it's hard to, it's like functional medicine. What is that? I've never heard of that. So, I mean, but maybe it's just by referral,
Yeah, well, it's growing, and it is the future of healthcare. And I don't know if you're aware, but the Cleveland Clinic has a functional medicine There's a Cleveland Clinic Center of Functional Medicine. So like that's a big stage from a conventional standpoint. And so
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
there, they're doing research. So it's growing. It's just the problem is if functional medicine is trying to optimize health, and oftentimes the medications you're on are anti-health, and the pharmaceutical industries run the world. So it's going to be a tough change there. But so the grassroots way is probably the better way.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think there might be another way scientifically that there's all roads lead to Rome, and the study of epigenetics is becoming such a in the forefront, and it's extremely well respected. And as they become more and more obvious to the traditional, conventional doctors in scientific world and medicine, and they show that flipping the switch on any given gene is only 20% your genes, and probably 80%, arguably, depending on who you listen to, your lifestyle. That'll boil us down to lifestyle, what we eat, what we do, and I think take us back to functional medicine.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's a saying, genes load the gun, but environment pulls the trigger, right? And so if you're not addressing that, there's no way we're going to get where we need to go. And that's why the pharmaceutical magic bullet always fails. And that's why, precision medicine, as they call it, has failed, because their idea of precision is, well, let me understand Linda's genetics and we'll give drugs specifically to her genetics. And it's like, well, that doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It never will. It's like you said, the epigenetics, your daily choices and your lifestyle, and how that's influencing the expression of the genes, not the actual gene itself. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm hoping that begs the question for people, like, what did you do that brought your autoimmune disease to flip? And when you get to that common denominator, that'll be the same thing that causes half a dozen other things in the body, with different doctors that were, thought to be unrelated, but they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm with you. I think you should get whatever degree you need so you can join the Army and promote it.
I went to the dermatologist today and I told her that I was doing the functional medicine, and she said, I think that's fantastic. And she cited Cleveland Clinic.
Awesome. Good. See, it's spreading.
Yeah, I called it the new frontier, and she said, I think you're right.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. I love to hear people in the weeds, so to speak, conventionally, who are open-minded and supporting it and promoting it, and I think, many doctors know that. It's just, once you're in that system, you're not going to necessarily change from inside that system. That doctor may need to break out on their own and just say, I'm going to hang up my own shingle and be a functional medicine doctor. But to be in the belly of the beast and get to change that way can happen slowly. But if a rheumatologist is saying that and is hopefully mentioning that to patients, then that's good.
Well, I just want to say, people that know me and know what I've been through for the past 5 years, they are all in to knowing what I'm doing and what plan you've worked out for me. They are so interested in every little detail. And so if you get a lot of business, oh, well, it's my fault.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I'll take it. I appreciate it. And
it's so funny. It's like, oh, so you have inflammation. We were talking about, and they've been reading on autoimmune things and talking about different things. And I was like, well, I have a book. He's written a book. Oh, well, send it to me. And what's his name? And I have shared your link to your website 100 times. So.
Good. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.